Hello and welcome to Ask GCN Anything.
Yes, and we've been going through all your questions, and a lot of them are relating to indoor training because, well, for most of us in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in the deepest, darkest winter. So it's a perfect time to go through all your questions on indoor training.
And if you would like to be in with a chance of winning a free 3-month subscription to Zwift, use the hashtag AskGCNTraining. And for all your other questions, hashtag TalkBack.
Yeah, which fits perfectly for our indoor training special. So without further ado, let's crack on with the first question from Winnie293, who asks, as the indoor trainer season is approaching, which a lot of us are in already, I have a question. I found it hard to ride out of the saddle, sprint on my indoor training. And like that, I don't feel I can put in that much power I would normally be delivering outside. Do you have any suggestions?
Yep, so it's quite a fairly common question and quite a common issue actually. Lower power indoors and struggling to stand up.
Yeah, a lot of us are in that same boat, aren't we?
Yeah, so with your sprint training, you want to focus on the fact that actually you're training your neuromuscular pathways as much as the maximum strength of the muscle indoors on the turbo trainer, and then you can convert that to outdoors training afterwards, because the more often you use those pathways, the more clear and effective they become, which will in turn improve your sprint power. So keep going with it. Don't worry about the actual discrepancy in your power numbers, and when you get outside, you can then ramp that up again.
Yeah, well, there you have it from a proper sprinter.
Next up, we have a question from Simon Lund. I am returning to training after an ankle and heel fracture. Ooh, painful. Sadly, my FTP has plummeted by 25%. And so my question relates to calibrating training intensity on the road back to fitness. Should I use my old FTP, or should I use my newer, lower FTP, or somewhere between the two?
Yeah, I personally would drop it down, to your lower one, and do it progressively. So I know it's really demotivating when you're not hitting those numbers you used to, but go back to the start and work the way back up. And in 6 weeks of progressing and training, you will really find the benefits, and your numbers will return to those higher numbers that you once had.
Yeah, 25% is a lot, so if you're trying to aim for those higher numbers, you'll just wildly be overreaching, and that'll just, as Hank said.
And that's demotivating as it is, when you just cannot hit those numbers you did before.
For more info on threshold training, check out the video with Sai in the background.
Tracking your fitness compared with prescribing training.
Okay.
And when you're prescribing training, if you feel like you need endurance, you probably need to go quite a bit lower than your FTP. If you're working on those things, those weapons that are going to win you bike races, you're probably looking at quite a bit higher than FTP.
The next question is from Ellis Kurzman. I wanted to try a track event, however, I don't have a track in the town I live or a cycling track. Do you have any tips for track training without a track? That's quite a lot of tracks.
I've lost track. Anyway, the first thing you want to do is get yourself a pair of rollers, because these will be quite specific for your track cycling. Track cycling is all about cadence and being really smooth. And the rollers are a perfect place to learn that, because if you bounce on the rollers, you'll be all over the place, and it'll be the same on the track. So a good set of rollers, and then work on cadence bursts, because it is your cadence that defines how fast you'll be able to go, ultimately.
Yes, and then it gets you used to being on a track bike when you're on the rollers. So work on cadence, get comfortable on your track bike, and well, then get on the boards. And you should feel a lot more comfortable and faster.
If you don't know how to ride the rollers, check out the video.
Yeah.
So before we get started with Matt, a few tips for setting up your rollers. Firstly, you want to make sure they are next to either a wall, a rail, or perhaps even a doorway, so that you've got something with which to prop yourself up before you start rolling.
And the winner of this week's 3 months free subscription from Zwift is Brendan O'Regan. For this question, as a general sporty rider, what is the best Zwift workouts plans to do over the winter months to keep fresh with hills and flat riding? What is it, Opie?
Well, you know what, Brendan? The winter is a perfect time to maintain your fitness with a little lower volume, and also just less stress than you'd normally have with a strict structured program. And this is where something like Zwift really can help.
Yeah, and it also can personalize your sessions. So for example, if you set a program of 12 weeks long and you only manage 8 weeks, it'll actually reorganize it so you get the most important weeks in that 8-week period.
Which is really good. And then if you also want to include some of your outdoor sessions there, you can work on your endurance. So like a longer 2, 3, 4 hour ride with a higher cadence than you might maintain indoors, and then include a few sprints, because sprinting is always going to be easier outdoors than indoors. So 5 to 8 second sprints and then 12 minutes in between them. About 6 in one session.
Yeah, and also Zwift has actually specifically designed a program called Active Training Season, or Active Off Season, sorry, which is specifically designed for cyclists to keep fit through that off-season period.
Quite fancy doing that myself.
Yeah, I think I need it.
It's been a long off-season since May.
Yeah, so try that, and make sure you get involved on the group rides, the Grand Fondos, and the racing. And yeah, good luck with your off-season.
And Irish Destiny writes in now with, "Hi Team GCN, I am wondering, is there a way to increase my sprint speed during indoor training?"
You love sprint questions, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, love it. But anyway, there are plenty of indoor training sessions that you can get a hold of. And actually, one that works really well for me, and I'm sure you've done it as well, is 20-second effort, but you do the first 15 seconds seated, so all-out seated sprint, and then the last 5 seconds when you're trying to get that extra bit of power out, you get out of the saddle. And this works on your seated power and your all-out peak power. But ultimately, there's 4 aspects to a fast sprint, and that's working on your aero position, your cadence, because ultimately the faster you pedal, the faster you're going to go, your peak power, and your sustainable power.
Yeah, well done. You did well there.
I know, just remember them all.
And you can train them all at the same time. So the effort that James described then, so 5 seconds standing at the saddle, even whilst indoors, will really focus on your peak power. The next 10 seconds will really focus on being aerodynamic and your cadence, because you'll be building all the way. And then the final 5 seconds, well, that's the final surge to the line, and that's again your sustainability.
Yeah, so really work on those. They're not easy sessions because, well, no hard sessions are easy, but you really will find it effective and your sprint will benefit from it.
Yep, and you'll really notice that when you get back out on the road. So again, six sprints in one session is the maximum number you really want to aim for.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
I don't envy you. Right, the next question, bear with me on this one, is from Piotr Sadzinski.
Nice pronunciation.
Yeah, thanks, mate, I've been working on it. I recently slammed my stem and I find my wrists hurt while riding on the hoods. I prefer to retain that slam look, like Blythe's. Is there any way I could be mucking up the way I ride on the hoods? For instance, if I really focus on keeping my elbows more bent, the wrist pain lets up. But I need to counter the lower position by using my triceps and lower back muscles, which seems inefficient. Are there any tips?
Yeah, there are. Without seeing you on the bike, it really sounds like you've gone all in for fashion over function,
Yeah,
which,
100%.
you know, whilst it's cool, it's only cool if you're still going fast whilst doing it. So what I would suggest otherwise is to put your stem back to where it was and then slowly, 5 millimeters at a time, bring it down to the position you really want to have, and then spend a good week or so in that position, and then work towards your end goal. And also, whilst you're doing this, some upper body strength work, so like triceps, and then a little bit of stretching as well.
Yeah, stretching your back and well, all your core muscles
your lower back
will really help get into that lower position that you really desperately want. But I personally would recommend you go for a middle ground. So yeah, maybe not go right down to a slam look, but maybe a couple of millimeters.
Exactly. Function is better than fashion when you're going fast.
We want to go fast.
Exactly. Next up is a question from
hands,
Jazz Hands, went to drama school. James Bainton. I've recently bought a new bike that's come with a tubeless disc setup. I want to use it on the turbo trainer, and I already have a turbo trainer tyre. Would I be able to use a spare non-disc wheel and use that purely for the turbo, or do I need to buy another disc brake ready wheel?
Well, you can 100% use that spare, but as long as the through axle or the axle fits in your bike, basically. You can't use one that probably doesn't fit because it won't fit in your bike. So yeah, finding a wheel that fits and then use that indoor trainer tyre will really work. You don't have to have a disc specific one at all. Really.
The only thing we would advise though is if that spare wheel is only marginally more expensive to get a disc one, then it's probably worth doing that, because you never know when a spare wheel comes in handy.
Yeah. Now it's time for the quick fire round.
But
we're gonna do our best to make it quick. This starts from Niels Monk. I'm trained to be a sprinter, more so than a climber. I think I have the acceleration training dialed in, but I'm at loss as to how to train for top speed. Have you got any inputs on how to increase top speed?
Yeah, we do.
Motor pacing.
Well, yeah, that's a really good one. So you could motor pace if you've got that available to you, like 2 minutes at a real high pace, so like 60 k's an hour, and then into a big long sprint, so 20 to 30 seconds. Because to reach your top speed, it's as much about sustaining a long sprint as it is about having the power. Focus on your position on the bike, as ever, and get stuck in.
Yeah, so good luck with that top speed training.
Joe Karam, is there any benefit for a cyclist to train on a rowing machine in the off-season?
Yes, 100%. It's really good for your cardiovascular fitness and also your muscular strength too. I've actually been doing it this morning.
Is that where those massive arms come from?
Yeah.
Because they weren't there when you were a bike rider.
No.
GP Flash Glass. Do spin classes, I'd like to read the question.
Sorry.
Do spin classes have any application in cycle training?
Yes, they are perfect. I actually really enjoy doing them because I find I push myself more when someone's shouting at me. But yeah, 100%, they work a treat.
Next question.
Good 45-minute session. You scared the donuts out of me.
But you said you like being shouted at.
Yeah. Will Hallecky, will I get the same workout benefit if I do the same ride in the warm or the cold?
The same benefit? Well, that kind of depends on how you cope with the temperatures. But on the whole, it's healthier and more beneficial to train in the warm because certainly if you're training for fat loss and things like that, you're burning more calories when you're warm, but also it's easier on your lungs and your muscles because your muscles are up to temperature.
I used to hate training like in the cold because my lungs started to hurt.
Yeah, me too. And everything just kind of feels a little bit dead, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You definitely have more benefit in the warm, but you know, to a certain extent, it's not going to harm you to train in the cold either.
Well, there you have it. Next question is from Ho Il. Hi, if somebody has a massage once in a while, when is the best time to have it? Maybe on a rest day or after a hard session?
So I would always recommend on the same day as a hard session and the day before a rest day or an easy day because sometimes it can leave your legs feeling a little bit heavy and dead, can't it?
Yeah, and it gets that lactic acid out, so it's really working on, you know, flushing the legs through. So it's really good for recovery and it feels amazing.
Here's a popular question that we get on the channel from Matthew Wong. Where's Lasty nowadays?
Well, good question. And if we listen really carefully, we might be able to hear him working upstairs.
Yep, he's still around, don't worry. Lasty is still in the building.
Yeah, the brick is still here. The next question is from Marco Bielik.
Mega, you've done a good job there.
Yeah, no, I think I knocked that one up, but anyway, we'll move on. When doing indoor cycling sessions with footage of actual climbs, why are you always setting your resistance level to around 3%, which is 2 times or more lower than the actual average gradients of those climbs? Why not setting it to 7 or 8%?
Well, we looked into this and we think actually we're going for the level of intensity and not the gradients, so.
Yeah, we're focusing on the workouts, not trying to make it as kind of realistic as possible. To be honest, if we did put it to 7-8%, I doubt a lot of us will get up it.
Not anymore.
Yeah. And the last question we have is from D. How do I balance indoor training with limited outdoor training in the winter?
So some lights and some good warm clothing, I would imagine, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah, so you can actually get out on the road in the dark after work or after other commitments, and that will get your road riding in. But I would personally, you know, stick to the maybe indoor trainer during the midweek or Monday to Friday, and then get out on the road on Saturday, Sundays to get your endurance rides in.
Yeah, you don't need to go crazy though. Just do enough to maintain your fitness, and then when the weather gets better and the light is longer.
Yeah. So there you have it. The end to this week's Ask GC Anything.
It's not quite though, is it? Because look, we've got brand new t-shirts.
Yeah, we have. And you can get your hands on these and these for the Black Friday Metallic Edition t-shirts, which are on sale now, and you can get your hands on them, but only until the 28th of November. And also, get your hands on this, the gold Black Friday Edition cycling kit.
It's all the same quality as before, but at a special buy price. Quite like these.
Oh mate, I love black socks. Are you into black socks or white socks?
Black socks look brand new all the time.
Yeah. So make sure you head over to the shop to get your hands on these. And if you want to get your questions answered on next week's, then remember to use the hashtag AskGCNTraining and also hashtag TalkBack. And if you want to get in with the chance of winning 3 months free subscription from Zwift, then make sure you use that hashtag AskGCNTraining.
Oh, my thumbs don't work anymore.
Yeah, so without further ado, make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.